I mean, my girl's pregnant, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't got the free reign that I had before even.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I know it's only going to get worse. I might as well start trying to figure that type of shit out.
I would get rid of that
like,
phrase, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
not worse, but I guess it's going to get more intense.
I understand what you're saying.
More intense.
As a point of technicality, I would say, as someone
things will only intensify from here.
Cut that.
I got you.
Also, me saying it's a lot easier than you think it's going to be. I don't know if I want my wife hearing that.
Bing.
Bing.
We came in here to start this episode and talk to you because you are having a kid.
Yeah.
Young Goo Up the dad.
When did you find that out?
Goo goo wop.
I think I officially found out in maybe late April, early May, and then we got it confirmed in June.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When you do?
January 2nd.
Oh yeah.
Are you nervous?
Not necessarily.
How old are you?
25. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily nervous. I'm really just kind of at this point, I'm just like, yo, I'm just ready. I'm almost kind of just I'm ready to be 3 months into it and almost kind of used to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I get it.
I'm tired of
The anticipation.
it's just
You're gonna be used to it in 3 months.
Well, you'll be more used to it than you are right now.
That's
Yeah,
true.
right now
Or,
it's something that's coming in the future.
I
The
feel
thing
like
I always
it would
say-
just be easier to explain
I like being
the
in the middle of anything. I'd rather be in the middle than at the beginning of a thing. I'd rather be in the middle. That means I already went through the beginning. I survived it. I'm in it. And now I can make decisions without that shit looming. You know what I mean? What's your plans as far as all the shit you want to do, the creativity side of your life? Because I know you're a worker and you're going to do the work stuff and take care of that. But what are your thoughts and ideas as far as, comedy and the creative side of your life, now having a family and that added responsibility?
I don't think that the goals have necessarily changed at this point. I think right now I'm just trying to figure out a more stable path to those things. You know
Realistic, yeah. Because before you were just a 24-year-old kid with very few responsibilities.
Yeah.
And you could chase your shit relentlessly like a fucking dog. And now you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, now even it's really just kind of I talked to my girl about it, and she's been super supportive of me doing comedy the whole time. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And
She's gotten on
that's why
stage a
she's
few
your girl.
times.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even but I was kind of expecting, when we were kind of all right, you're pregnant. Is this what we're doing now? All right. And I did ask, I was just how do you feel about me still trying to pursue comedy or whatever? And she was pretty cool. Her whole thing is just kind of as long as you're a father when you need to be a father and providing, you know what I'm saying? You can do comedy a little if you make a little. And if you want to do comedy a lot, just make sure
Make a
you
lot.
Make a lot.
You know what I mean? Or at least, something respectable.
Man,
Right.
so then we gotta, I hate to be that fucking guy, but I love you. So the reality of it is that you are not gonna make a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what are those thoughts that go into, as
If you're gonna make a lot, you have to be gone a lot.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was kind of telling her, and
Maybe.
I was just
I don't know. There's other ways probably.
there are now, there's some ways, and you are more likely to be able to do those other ways that a couple of old guys can't do. But
yeah, a big part of it, at least my plan right now, the way I see it, is just I went to school for design and media and shit like that. So I'm just all right, I know how to do stuff on the internet. You know what I mean? I might not be the best at it, but I'm all right, I have a foundation. And it's just I know I can start doing stuff. So then it's just kind of all right, if I'm gonna do the road, it's just all right, well, what's something I do the road, you make that money that one time. What's something that I can do to where it's just kind of I can get people to still kind of tune in or whatever and still make some sort of money
Diversify
while
and
I'm not
create
on the
passive
road.
income.
You know what I mean? Which is
A side hustle, comedy side hustle.
every
yeah.
hustle's a side hustle when you're a fucking comedian,
And it's and even right now, it's just kind of I fucking substitute teach, and it's just I substitute teach and I fucking try to do shit on the road. If I'm not on the road, I'm fucking substitute teaching. You know what I mean?
Can you substitute teach on the road?
Nah, because it's based off of it goes county by county. I can apply to sub in at least any county in North Carolina as far as I'm aware. But
Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because I know I can sub Guilford County, Stokes County. I'm pretty sure I could sub in like Forsyth County. But I don't know. I don't think that was something that I would even be trying to do because that's just a lot of applications, and then that's just a lot of
right. There's
getting
no
paid once a
there's
month.
no universal teacher.
Nah.
Taking all of that information in, Stewart Huff and Tom Simmons, taking that information that he just gave you in, what are your thoughts as far as, 25 plus years in the art form as parents and people who have had rich, textured fucking lives outside of the actual comedy and have struggled with the business side of it, the creative side of it, all of it? What's the advice you give to a 25-year-old guy who's about to be a parent who wants to be a fucking comedian? Like, and honestly, and I see the look in the...
being a dad is easier than you think it's going to be. And it's just it just comes to you. I mean, maybe you're not going to do it great, but also you're going to get so much material and ideas and thoughts.
But what about the comedy side?
Seems like a goofy thing to say. Well, the comedy side is like now I don't know, because I didn't get that. Now I got to double down on the work because it's I got to be the provider. Like I don't know. I don't. Maybe I'm just I don't have that. But
I mean, for me,
it gave me a different way of looking at the world. It gave me I kept writing, I kept doing it, and over time you just figure out, all right, I'm going to be home here and I'm going to be gone here. Most people are gone every day at 8 a.m. and they get home at 6 or 7 and then they have dinner and put the kid to bed and then they don't see.
You're just doing your 40 hours
at one time
in 120-hour chunks, and then
I'm home. Then I'm home for 3-4 days, and it's like they get all my attention and blah blah blah. And it's miserable when you leave. That's the hardest part as they get older.
Feel like you're missing.
Yeah, you feel like you're missing, but and not only that, they just love you so much that you can just feel how important it is to them that you're there. So that gets harder.
What about you, Stewart?
I've got a couple things that I would say. I think part of it is your partner. You get lucky there, and you get someone that understands.
Communicate.
You got to communicate.
Yeah,
because you have to be there. Do you know what I mean? Not only like physically, but emotionally. Yeah, you have to be there as a parent. You know what I mean? But you also know that the open mic is on Wednesday. So I think it's and you're at a different position because my son is 7, but I already was on the road 40. I was making a living at comedy when I had my son.
Yeah, I was living in a motorhome.
Right. Tom and I were working and making money. Right? So you're trying to get up in this art form.
Yeah.
My wife had to give up basically her life, which was traveling with me and being a part of that.
And that's what I'm saying. I think so much of this question depends on the partner who, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What is that situation? Because, my wife has never said once to me, like, why are you leaving? And, you only made this much profit and she makes it known that, I would like for you to be home for Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that means I'm going to be gone Thanksgiving. Because I cannot be home for every event, the birthdays, the parties, the recitals, every holiday. If I'm going to be home for all that, then we're not making a living.
Yeah.
It's not a luxury you have until you have that luxury.
You know what I mean? So it's compartmentalizing everything. You know that in order to get better as a comedian, you have to go to the open mic. You got to hit it, and you've got to be working on your stuff, or else this stuff's gonna, because people will zoom past you when you don't have the time to work on your art. People zoom past you, so you have to say, I'm going to be here with my child all day today, and I'm going to be exhausted at the end of it, but it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be all this, because tomorrow I have to work on material for 2 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to, when you're single, running around, do what you want, you're like, yeah, I'll do whatever I want. But now you've got different things going on, and if you're going to make it work, which it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard, and I make a living at comedy. And it's hard for me. I mean, Tom, we'll talk about this week as an example. Tom calls me and says, will you come in and do my podcast? I'm looking at my schedule and I'm not thinking, when am I available? That's not what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is, okay, I'm already gone this weekend. If I do it there, then that means I'm going to be gone for 12 days. And my son doesn't do well when I'm gone for 12 days. It becomes too much, So I need to pick a spot where I'm only going to be gone. So I picked this week, and I'm here in Greensboro, and then I go to St. Louis, and then I go home. So I have to think about him with every decision that's made.
Right.
So what are the things you hear, what they just said? What are your thoughts on all that, man?
I mean, I feel like it's kind of a lot of. I feel like it's kind of a lot of where my thoughts were already going, because even then, just kind of I've already started trying to plan out. All right, like what dates am I actually trying to book shit, do road shit? You know what I mean? As far as like the future goes, because it's like the baby's due in fucking January. And it's just like, all right, I already got most of what gigs I'm gonna end up doing for the rest of this year. And now I'm thinking about, all right, and it's really just kind of like whether it's like, all right, the kid's born in January, how long after the baby should I wait before I try to start, trying to do the road and all that shit again?
Yeah, I had mine mapped out. It was like, okay, if he gets born here, maybe he'll be, if he comes 2 weeks early, that's good. I'm gonna get an extra 2 weeks at home. Like I had it all mapped out when it would work out perfectly for me.
Yeah,
Did it?
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Yeah.
What
But
happened?
that's the key, though, David, because you are having to think now,
Yeah.
like you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
okay, baby's due in January, so what about it? And it becomes complicated because this is maybe a clearer way to say it. You can be a shitty father and a good comic, okay?
I did that.
You could be I know plenty of them that just shitty dads and good comics, because they're 99% of all of their energies going into comedy, and but they ain't a dad.
Yeah.
Or you can be a good dad and a bad comic. But if you want to be both, you're talking about mental exercise there. Being a
I
good
like the
comic
idea
and a
that you're
good
saying,
dad.
like you're what your degree is in or whatever, and like the stuff you worked on, like, and that how to. Because the other thing is applying it to the business side gives you a huge advantage. Because not only, in my mind, people will whip past you, but just doing the work puts you ahead of most people. And then also doing that work, like that's a hard thing to do too, is to do both.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've been trying to do it myself, is like learning the difference between being efficient and being effective. Because just because you're efficient at something doesn't mean that it's necessarily effective.
How do you do it? What are the ways you do it?
Well, that's part of what I'm still trying to figure out. I feel like it's really just, for me, it's been deciding, all right, if I do this show, or if I do this mic, or if I do anything, is this actively going towards a goal that I have? Or is this time that I could be spending doing something else? Because even now it's just like, my girl's pregnant, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't got the free reign that I had before even.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I know it's only going to get worse. I might as well start trying to figure that type of shit out.
I would get rid of that
like,
phrase, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
not worse, but I guess it's going to get more intense.
I understand what you're saying.
More intense.
As a point of technicality,
yeah.
I would say, as someone
things will only intensify from here.
Cut that.
I got you.
Also, me saying it's a lot easier than you think it's going to be. I don't know if I want my wife hearing that.
Bing.
Bing.
Hey, I'll tell you a piece of advice that actually I got from another comic that helped a lot. Peter John Burns, good comic out of Chicago. When I was in your position, right, I had 6 months, something like that, until the baby was due. And Peter said, remember this, are you going to be in the delivery room?
Yeah.
Okay. He said, you are the only one in that room with common sense. Remember that. Your wife is knocked up on drugs and she's all loopy. Even if she's going to do a drug-free, it's still chemicals rushing through her body, and she's not there.
Yeah.
Okay. Mentally,
There's chemicals running through your body that you've never had before too. I mean, the flush of oxytocin you get watching your own kid be born is completely going to catch you off guard.
I've heard it was such a spiritual experience. That's why I wanted to
I mean, I wouldn't put all that on it. Some people have.
I have a friend who just had.
Some
a kid
people
who
have
was just
spiritual
like,
experiences. Some people have a medical procedure. You know what I mean? It's different for everyone.
yeah. It's but Peter told me that because there was some complications with his wife's birth, you know, with her giving birth, and there was a doctor there that was like, you know, all the and then Peter was just like, what do you mean? Like the doctor was like, I've never seen this before, and he had to look at
say that as a doctor.
I know
Yeah.
you don't. What the hell? And Peter like and looked at his wife, and she heard that and was like panicked, and Peter like took the doctor and like pushed him out the door, and went out in the hallway and goes, don't you tell her you've never seen what? And then another doctor, a more senior doctor, came by and go, what happened? And this was a younger doctor. And Peter goes, he just said it. Anyway, so Peter said, that's, you know, so here's what happened to me. I'm in the delivery room and there's a blood pressure monitoring machine hooked up to my wife. And I see it's going up. It's getting, and I'm thinking about what Peter said, that you need to kind of keep an eye on what's going on. Don't just assume they've got it. Just keep an eye. And I asked a nurse, I said, is that number that's going up? And she goes, oh, yeah, whoa, like that. And I went, yeah, I don't, is that high, normal? And she goes, it's not good. And then she went out and got a doctor, and then there's a conversation, and then this and that. And then the doctor, I said, tell me what's going on. And the doctor goes, well, she's almost at stroke level. We need to get this baby out now, and get that blood pressure down, or we're going to have to hook her up to something, and, you know, we're going to have to do a C-section or something. And I said, so those are our options? Get the baby out now? You got to get that baby out now. And I don't know where this came from, David. I swear to God, I don't know where. It sounds like a good joke, and it was. It was a solid piece of comedy. But it just hit me. I looked at my wife and I said, if you have this baby in the next 2 minutes, your mother will not be in this room. And she went, because her mom was en route at that point, you know? Yeah. And it was like 3 minutes later, my son was born.
Wow.
And then they hooked her up to blood pressure and got that blood pressure down, and she didn't stroke.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going to have other family members in the room?
No, I don't. I don't think she necessarily wants to. I think the only sibling that she would want in the room is her oldest sister. And yeah, that's really it. And that's the only other person I think of that I would want in there.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Too. Yeah.
That is, I had kids. I had my first kid when I was 18 years old. And, you know, then I had a bunch more, and I was in the delivery room for a few that even weren't mine. And the thing that I take away from it is something along the lines of what Stewart was talking about. It is your experience in there. And there are a lot of other people who, you know, the people who work there and all of that. I tend to, when I'm in spaces, feel like I am in the way if I ask too many questions or if my curiosity gets the best of me. Yeah. And sometimes I shut the fuck up. But in those moments, what I found is you end up being a manager, and you do have to manage the situation, and your responsibility is to her and to make sure that her situation ends up being the best it can possibly be, because she isn't, you know, as rational as a person can be in that situation. She can be that rational, but there is some element of doing all the heavy lifting. Yeah. When you need a corner man sometimes to you know.
I think it's important. I mean, there's some machine hooked up. Just say, what is this?
Yes. Yeah.
Just know what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More than likely, everything's going to be absolutely fine and smooth, and nothing's going to happen. But don't, you know, if something goes wrong, don't grab a scalpel and start, you know. But you might have to be the voice for you and your partner, because she's gone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You might have to look at a doctor and say, tell me what this is. What is going on? You know what I mean?
I never did any of the, so, you know, we were 18, she was 17. And my first son was born 2.5 months premature. And, you know, those last 2 months are really where procrastinators are going to take all the birthing classes. So I had none of them, you know. And
we didn't do birthing classes either.
Yeah. And so she goes into labor.
Wants me to, and I'm just like,
do what she wants you to do.
She goes into labor, and she's too premature to be to have the baby delivered in the hospital in the city that I was in, and so we had to leave state and drive to Women and Children's Hospital. And
Wait, what? The hospital's like, no, we don't care. It's a medical procedure. This is too soon.
No, they just didn't. You know,
We don't have the resources.
They didn't
have the resources that other hospitals had to deliver a baby that was 2.5 months premature. And so we went to Women and Infants, and you know, that staff, they had dealt with that, and it was fantastic. All of the things that they did. And so my son is born, and when I see him come out, man, he doesn't look like a human. You know, he's 2.5 months premature. He's that big, you know, and he's purple and he's disfigured and all of this shit. And I look at him and I think, well, all right, well, my son is not a normal. He didn't come out normal. He's deformed. He's this. He's that. And I had that in my stomach, and I was just like, all right, well, I love him no matter what. It doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? I got this kid now, and it was like 4 days into it when one of the nurses told me that, you know, he's just premature. Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna
He's gonna
be
be
fine.
all right.
I thought I had a disfigured or
Right.
mentally deformed
A handicap.
child. Turns out he was fine.
So
And,
when you hear, does all that, your thoughts and your projections and your whatever, all that just vanishes as soon as she says it? You're like, oh, wow, like is
it shifts to the normal amount of being overwhelmed,
Right.
of being a parent for the first time as an 18-year-old, instead of the being overwhelmed as being a parent as an 18-year-old and all these things that weren't true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's why you got to ask questions and do some research, read a fucking book, talk to people,
Yeah.
be as prepared as you can be, because you will not be prepared enough no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I watch all the little videos with her.
Hell
I
yeah.
just have not physically gone to a class, and she only been to one.
Yo, go to
acting
the
like-
class, do
you know, just
whatever
whatever.
it is that's gonna fucking make her.
That's the smartest
Yeah.
thing Tom said since I've been here is do what she says.
Yeah, I mostly do.
She's
Most
getting
of
ready
it,
to
David, is like
have a baby. So
is this her first child?
Yeah,
She's nervous and scared. You need to be with her, even if you're like, well, that was dumb and I didn't learn anything. It ain't really about that. She wants you to go to that class, put your shoes on and go to the class.
yeah.
She wants you by her side. That's the way it is.
It's
The other
interesting
thing-
listening to those stories of that has me thinking about Owens, and it specifically has me thinking like, wow, like just how much like this Serena went through to and she had a pretty good birth or whatever, but still it's like, it's wow, like going through all that and all the emotions that you have and the pain and the having a baby, like you forget, and the time you don't really appreciate how much that is. And
Well,
like,
that's
seeing it and thinking about it now, it's like, wow, it's very strong.
Yeah, dude. The other thing I was going to tell you is while we're saying all this, and it's like, hey, man, fucking make sure you're there. It's also you should feel nervous and fucked up, and make sure that you allow yourself to feel those things, because if you shove them down, you'll never figure out how to get past them. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? The best thing you can do is like honestly, legitimately feel your feelings and say them out loud and have conversations about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like
And that's
I
where
do.
the jokes come from too. You
Damn
just
right.
report exactly what's happening, and it's funny because
Yeah.
it's your reaction to it. When you said the thing about looking in your son, like my son looked like an alien coming out too,
Yeah, dude.
all purple and
Yeah, nobody
weird
told me
looking,
that.
and it's like, yeah, nobody tells you that, and,
Yeah.
and it's like that's a what? That's it? That's
yeah.
that's a magic trick. It seems like the most incredible magic trick. There's nothing there. You see, like, that's a head? What do you tell? It's the top of a head. And then it's like, everything just looks alien. And then
It is.
all of a sudden there's a life there. And that's all you can, because they can barely see at all. Their focus only goes so far. So
Mhm.
It is the
my
clear
recommendation
definition.
would do to what you did. That's what I did too, is I got close enough to where he could look in my eyes and I could
Yeah.
look in his eyes. And I just tried to convey,
I got you.
I love you, I got you, blah blah blah, and I don't know. So it makes me feel better, and I feel like
Yeah.
that is a connection that they get immediately that registers.
That is the definition of alien as well. You know, like here's a thing that's on this planet that has never been here before.
Yes, and then that's when I had that's where my joke
pretty
came
good.
from about that of like from his perspective, he was chilled in a home, like
Yeah.
had his universe all around him, and then just chaos, and you'll see, like
It's trauma, yeah.
just their head is smushed and their whole body is like went through trauma, and then they're like what the fuck is this big dude holding me? They have no idea what that is. So there's just got to be crazy chaos.
And then Tom leans in and goes, "Get your fucking glove down."
How many times I gotta tell you?
Prep steps. Prep steps.
Life was perfect until you got here. So good luck with that.